And, do you think what we're growing with today, do you think it's actually the entrepreneurs that we're making today, do you think it's actually degrading our society today? What do you think about that?
Many, because
Really?
many are, many, because just look what is pushed at the moment, communication-wise and advertising-wise. Mm-hmm. There is a culture, an entrepreneurial culture that is bigger than it was before, and that is positive. So are there more and better entrepreneurs than before? The answer will be yes. But the way it's done is to, in the main, like the vast majority is, discover how I went in my agency from $1,000 a month to $2 million a month without doing anything, and you don't need to know marketing. You don't have to do it's a gimmick. It's all gimmicks to get there, but we are not creating competency. We are creating
laziness
and losers.
Right.
So that's not the type of society that we want to build, for sure. But a perfect example, just looking at other historical time, is the Renaissance time in the 1400 in Italy, but started before. Like it really started in the 200s to brew, here and there, and then it blossomed in the 1400, which is what we call the Renaissance. Before that, there was like the Dark Ages. But in the Renaissance, what really expanded, right? They brought richness too, but what really expanded is the philosophy. Is the viewpoint that a person is there for something more than, getting money and buying a Lamborghini and taking a picture on Instagram. Okay. It was more than that. They had the Instagram at that point. But it became something more than that. And so out of the Dark Ages, which is medieval time, which is the era before, then this blossoming of culture started. And I think that that's the era that we need. And I do believe that the people that can bring that era of prosperity are the entrepreneurs, which are the new artists, in my opinion. Right? The artists were the ones that carried, and the philosopher that carried that evolution. I think the entrepreneurs are the ones that will carry it now.
Right. I know you mentioned this before, was that, in terms of success, people think, I know there's a datum that goes around that your success is dependent upon how much money you make. Could you define for me what success is by what you think it is?
That's beautiful. Yeah. So I was in a talk in Bogota some time ago, probably a year and a half ago, and they asked me the same question. And I think that it's very important to change some metrics. Like, if success is money, and that's it, then anything goes. Like, why do you have to really give a great exchange to people if you can just grab some money, and figure it out? And, then that's their problem. So if that is the standard, then we have a problem, Like, money can be a scoreboard, and of course you should have money. But what about the qualitative, not quantity, quality criteria of success? How much harmony are you actually creating? Did you know that some of the biggest money, for example, in Wall Street is made on what is called, I think in English is translated with derivatives or derivatives. I'm not sure what is the right word in English, but basically you're betting against the market. Like, if the company loses wealth and success and the stock goes down, you win, right? So they made $1 gajillion in the economy becoming smaller. And this is only possible if you have the principle of money is the driver. So I think we will need to start to shift our metrics into quality as opposed to quantity and only quantity. So to give you an example, in, what was it? A few years ago, I think it was about 3 years ago, I was in Colombia. And this guy came to talk to me after a talk and said, "Hey, what you say is very, very nice, but I got to tell you, my boss, he is not a nice person. That is like loaded. Okay? It's loaded. To me, this guy is really successful. Again, like, I understand what you're saying, but I don't see it." I said, "Okay, well, let's take a look, right? Let's take a look. Is this guy like, how is he doing physically? And he said, no, is fairly in shape, maybe a little bit overweight, but all in all, fairly okay. It's okay, good. And then he said, oh, well, I mean, he drinks a lot. That's okay. Well, then probably it's not necessarily great. Right? And then how is his relationship with his family and so on and so forth? Well, he always talk about, how important his family is, but he has girlfriends all around, like the secretary and other people are his girlfriend and so on and so forth. Okay. And how is he doing in the office? Like, do people love him in the office? No, everybody fears him because they're afraid that he will fire them and etc. So no one really wants to have anything to do with him. Mm-hmm. Okay. Is he active philanthropically and so on and so forth? He says no, and so on and so forth, right? So when you paint this picture, if the only thing that the person has is some money, but you wouldn't want to have a coffee with the guy if it wasn't because he has money. So if you remove the money from the guy, there is nothing. Then I don't think that's success at all. And unfortunately, most people that grew with that idea in mind built themselves in that direction. And I don't think that's interesting at all.
Right. No, it totally makes sense because like I find people who always like are starving for money, like they just are. They're kind of like I look at a lot of these celebrities that like are rich and they own like $2, $3, $4 million houses. They have 12 cars, and they're just like they're miserable. Like they make all this money and they're super miserable. They're all business owners. I think it's probably maybe 2 of them that I've ever seen that are actually happy with what I have. And it's not even because they made money, it's because they actually have a family or they appreciate life more. Like an example is like Ryan Reynolds, who's I love, by the way. He's like one of my favorite. Really he's one of my favorite. He's like an entrepreneur. He built a business from scratch, pretty much like from the dump, and like built it and sold it for like $2-3 billion to like a company. I don't know if you know, Mint Mobile is like one of them.
Yeah. And then he had a tequila brand, I think.
Yes, that's right.
And then he has a marketing agency. He has amazing things. I agree with you.
Yeah. And the other one too is actually, funny enough, this is not someone you probably not expect, is Keanu Reeves is another good one who also has like all these other things. He's like, I only own 3 expensive things, but I appreciate them so much because I love life so much that I don't want anything else. You know what I mean? So I find that it's never the money